Good evening, it's the Romany Roy again. Following on from last night with this bank manager job. I didn't mention that they did pay my cost. And it was all settled up. It didn't really... I was lucky to get away with what I got away with. That's the truth of the matter. Anyway, there's going to be lots of stories before and after the events. But I'm just driving along now, and I want to tell you one that saddens me so much. It's the biggest disaster anybody can have. Now, the scrapyard was going on right, no problem at all. There are new environmental agency rules coming, and we all had to put down thousands of pounds of concrete and interceptors to take the oil and water and everything they got. So we had a massive clear out in the yard, and down Wheel Jane there were some big freestanding concrete walls. They was L-shaped, and you could lift them in place and make bays out of them. Now, my old mate Donald Tangy, I suppose I could say, stood by me all the way from day one, really, and ran the business on lots of occasions, especially when I was out or where I was off anywhere. And as far as anything goes, there has been nobody before or after that was like he. And tragic. Right. We'd laid some concrete, and waited for it to go off for a few days. So we started moving these walls into place. They probably weighed, I don't know, 2.5 ton a piece, maybe 3 ton. Now, for years, I don't know how many people know the scrap job, but years ago, when we was loading scrap in Artex, you had a banksman, and some of the times they had to get in amongst the scrap to stack it in to get the weight in. It was no good sending a 20-ton lorry away with 12 or 14 ton on. So every bit of space had to be taken up. Now, Donald, poor old fucker, he was always one for being on top of the lorry, watching where the grab went and lowering the scrap in. Then he'd get up and level it out, stack it away. That's what he did. A million times I said, Donald, for fuck's sake, stay out the way, mush. No, I'm all right. Stay out the way, Donald. He wouldn't listen. That was Donald. Now, we'd laid this concrete, I'm just giving you a broad view of that. We'd laid this concrete, it had gone off. So now we put the chains around these big walls. Lifted them up, but I had to bring them in close to me because they was right on the limit of the machine. So we done 3, lined them up, they was all in place. Now, the fourth one was facing the wrong way. So we had to lift it, turn it, to put it in its resting place. I lifted it up, pulled it in close to me like that. And I could turn it like I turned them before 100 times by resting the corner on the floor and slewing the machine, and the thing would spin to the right direction. That wasn't good enough for poor old Donald. He turned it with his hands, didn't he? As he turned it, oh my God. As he turned it, the chain slipped. The ball fell on the floor and landed on, we found out afterwards, landed on a small piece of steel about 4 inches. The fucking wall fell on top of him. Killed him stone dead, right in front of me. Within a metre and a half, I was in total shock. I had to lift the wall off him. And lifted the wall off. I was screaming for help. I think my cousin Brian Willoughby and my boy was down in the yard. I think. Obviously rung for the ambulance. Police. His brother. What do you say to his family? What do you say to his family about a man that's been, you were confident, you're a manager, you're a meadow cleaner, your best friend, sometimes even your bank manager. And never once in all the years did you have to question Donald Tanguy about money. He was the best friend I ever had. Now, years before that, if you see my videos, I saved his life. But I blame myself for what happened. Now, it was a freak accident. No question about it. So, after the initial shock, Jed, my wife, would tell you, but that's if she ever speaks to me or gets interviewed, I drank a full bottle of whiskey straight after the accident. I won't go into graphic details, but it was so tragic. Something I have to live with every day of my life, believe it or not. And lots of times I can go on and I'll do something and I just remember Donald. Now, I told you about the vicar. I had to do something. I was on antidepressants and I had to be referred to a psychiatric hospital in Madrid called Trenguith. And I went there as an outpatient. For 2 years. Some people will believe it, some people won't. I'd get up in the morning, wouldn't say a lot, and then I'd hit the bottle. Go to the fucking hospital, see my psychiatrist. They put me on antidepressants and all these fucking tablets. 2 years. I am a God-fearing man. And all I can say is I still pray every day for forgiveness of my sins. And in that bracket is what happened to Donald. I'm so sorry. Donald lived with his mother. I think Donald was 58 when he got killed. They were married. All he had was his mother. He had brothers and sisters. They didn't particularly get on that well. But tragedy. And I turned to the good Lord for help. Now, back then, there was a company called American Combined Insurance. A company that specifically insured people in high-risk workplaces. And scrapyards come under that category. Now, Donald always worked for me, all the years, on a self-employed basis. Even when he worked for my father, it was a self-employed basis. He'd work for you for the week, give you an invoice, you paid the bill. Now, unbeknown to me, because I had an insurance cover on Donald, he had his own insurance cover. The bastards would only pay out on the one. They paid out on the one that he had in his name to his mum. They wouldn't pay out on mine. So, I don't know what his mother thought of me. Really. How could I did go and see her. It was a blank, really. And I think, well, yeah, who wouldn't blank you if one of your children got killed on somebody's place, whether it was their fault or not? There had to be that element of doubt and anger towards whoever it was. So, as I said, I turned to religion. I was in church as much as I could. Now, people say to me about how resilient I've been over the years and how fortune's changed things. Whilst I was in psychiatric treatment, you've got to bear in mind that I was like 1.5 meters away from this fella when this happened, sitting in the fucking machine. A technique that you learned or you sunk was to be able to clear your mind. Clear your mind and disengage yourself from a particular situation. Now, along with what happened came an illness that I was diagnosed with. And it was called post-traumatic stress syndrome. I don't know if anybody's experiences, but I could go to bed and I'd wake up from that position, straight, lying in bed flat, to that position in one motion. And then my hands would be round my throat, and I would convince myself, I don't know how long this went on, I would convince myself that I was choking and I was dying. Most times it was because I swallowed something. And when I tell people, some people, they laugh and joke about it, but it's not funny. I could swallow a screwdriver, a hammer, a chisel, a spanner, a lighter, whatever. But after these attacks, and I still get them to this day, not as frequent, but occasionally. But after one of these attacks, it is like you've been in a boxing ring and you've beat to pieces. It's a terrible experience. And it frightens a lot of people. It frightens them because they don't know what you're doing. And you don't know what you're doing. And I still suffer with it today. It's no good. The reason I can talk about it is because I've had to face it. Say sorry. Ask for forgiveness. I didn't make the chain slip. The chain slipped of its own accord. It either wasn't hitched up properly or whatever, but it fucked me up, I can tell you that now. I was never ever right after that. And I buried him. I didn't bury him. But I asked his mother, could he have his cutting torch, because that's what he was. Donald was a mastermind at cutting steel. He had his cutting torch buried with him. I kept his toolbox. But no, I never recovered from that. And that put a tremendous strain on my marriage as well. And facing people with it was another thing. You bump into his brother, you bump into his sister, or you see his mother, and the guilt will come out of your forehead. And when I say that, I mean the beads of sweat would be pumping. So that was a real tragedy that I'll never get over. I do pray for forgiveness, but it's something that, I don't know, you can't get over. He helped build my business with me, Donald. No question about it. We argued. We would argue every day. I mean argue, but I was never disrespectful to Donald Tangy. No way. Some mornings he'd drive his tractor to work. Some mornings he'd walk. Some mornings he'd drive his van. But he knew his metal inside out. Cut his steel. Marvellous man. Then the medication I was on, I was drinking with it. Going to church. Looking for some way out, I suppose. Never could find one. I had to face it. And the business carried on, and there's more stories to come. But it was never the same, really. Never the same. All the boys used to come in and have the crack with Donald. But he was fly as a whip, though. Knew his job. And he could work out, because obviously he used to do all the buying when I went there. But then we had secretaries and all in the office then. But he could work out what you earn. You bought so-and-so and so-and-so, 2 ton of this, ton of that, half a ton of this, 40 ton of iron. He'd work the profit out. He said, that's what you've earned this week. Look. Yeah, some man. So the business did go on, but it was hard. Hard. And that's the stuffings that really and truly finished me. It wouldn't move it anymore. We did go on, like I said, but I'm a bit choked up here now. I'm just repeating myself anyway. But that was the tragedy of poor old Donald Tangy. So I'll say good night now from the Romany Rye, and I'll come back tomorrow. Thank you.